Braylon, if I may, okay, I'd like to turn the show over to Tom Mazaway.
Okay.
Just let him get it over with.
Oh, God.
Okay, just let him get it over with.
Yeah.
He's been stewing and stewing and stewing and stewing.
Won't hear peep out of me.
Before we get going here, Tom Mazaway, you have the floor, my friend.
Thank you, sir. If I wanted to do there wasn't a post-game show I wanted to do more than yesterday, but I was at Ford Field, thanks to Chad Johnson for the awesome seats.
How are the seats?
I'm in the front row, man,
Jinx.
in the end zone. Front row of the end zone. I'm not a jinx. We won the other game.
They made it on TV, too, by the way.
Got on TV a lot. Nonetheless, I'm pissed, man. I was pissed all day yesterday at the game. I never saw a worse coach game in a long time. That was a terribly coached game by Ben Johnson and, of course, by the big honcho, Dan Campbell. And you guys know, I'll go over them real quick. 3rd and goal from the 2. They throw a pass out of bounds. Okay. I thought 2 David Montgomery runs would have been great. Okay, we're going to probably go for it here and give it to Montgomery. No, let's kick a field goal. That's not a Dan. I don't know what went through Dan Campbell's mind there. Okay, now they get the ball back. Let's fake a punt. Beautiful. 1st down. Let's go on 4th down, the next set of downs. 1st down. And then they go nowhere. And do they kick a 58-yard field goal? Try it with Jake Bates? No. They punt. Inside plus territory. They punt. And then how they end the first half. I don't know what the hell they were doing. First of all, I was talking to the guy next to me. It was awesome, Keith. Oh, shout out to Keith. And I'm like, why are they taking their sweet-ass time here? He's like, yeah, they did that last week too. I'm like, give me a little urgency. And they basically ran out of time. Guys were coming on the field to try to get a field goal, and then Jared Goff tried to spike the ball.
It was not a hurricane situation.
It was awful. 10-second runoff with 8 seconds to go means you get bupkis. Then they get the ball back in the second half, go nowhere. And then the last 2 drives were absolutely horrendous. Where's Jared Goff throwing the ball? There's no time. He's throwing in the middle of the field. No timeouts. He's still throwing in the middle of the field. 4th down from the 25, and he's throwing to the 16-yard line. Not one pass in the end zone. So Ben Johnson, worst game call ever by him. Dan Campbell, I don't know what the hell happened to him yesterday. And the guy took the hit, and we'll go over that. But I'm telling you guys, Ben Johnson has been caught up to. Okay? We didn't fool the Rams last week. We just outlasted them. And this week, the Buccaneers, minus 3 of their best players on defense, held the Lions to 16 points. And yes, the Lions shot themselves in the foot most of the day. And Jared Goff had his worst game, second worst game. The Ravens game was horrible last year. This game was his second worst game. Even though he threw the ball 55 times for 300 yards, there's no need for that. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets hurt. Where is Sam Laporta, guys? They threw 1 ball to him in the first half. They threw 1 ball to him in the second half. I don't get it. I'm cool now. It's off my chest. It's 1-1. People say, man, it's 1-1. Yeah, but it ain't 1-1 like last year. Last year when he lost to the Seahawks, they played their asses off. The defense just got toasted. This time the defense has been great the first 2 games, and the offense has sucked. So I don't know where to go from here. Jared Goff, I don't know where to go from here. I'm sorry.
Let me put some meat behind some of the things that you're saying. Now, first and foremost, Dan Campbell afterwards, if you haven't heard it, this is what he had to say afterwards, completely taking the blame for this one.
I asked for improvement from last week, was the story. And we did improve. And their coach cost them. Their head coach cost them this one. So, critical error into half, and 100% on me. We improved. There's areas we got to continue to improve on, but it's not okay.
All right, so Dan Campbell accepting the blame, taking the blame for this one. Obviously, so many people will point to, again, a lot of the things that you mentioned, Maz, but that first half gaffe at the end of the first half, that is I don't want to say CYO, but that's probably high school team level. Like a high school team could have probably managed the clock a little bit better than Dan Campbell did. You've got to get 3 points there. Here's what he had to say at halftime.
Look, there's nothing that is going to make any sense to anybody. There's no way to justify this. It's a massive error on my part, no one else's. And it was just between hurry-up field goal and clocking it. And it was 100% my fault, 100%. And that's why we have guys on the field. We're trying to clock it, and it's just, it's one of those things we work over and over, and we're good. We've been good. We do everything, and then I mess it up. So.
Okay, again, the reason why that's so big, and again, you don't know how everything, the rest of the game will play out, but if you kick a field goal there, you only need a field goal at the end of the game to take the lead, not the touchdown. They're down 4 instead of down 1 or whatever the case may be. So, Braylon Edwards, you heard Tom Mazaway. What's your reaction to a 20-16 loss to the Buccaneers, I should say?
It's funny. I've actually picked Tampa to win that game, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but I didn't want them to win, and I think there is some merit to what Tom Mazaway said. Let's just focus on Dan Campbell for a minute. He's an individual that we thought could have won or should have won or could have won the Coach of the Year last year in the NFL. When you start to get in that category, when you start to get in that conversation, we start to hold you to a different light. This is one of the things that we've talked about this year. How is Dan Campbell going to be this year, take that next step as a head coach? Because we thought that he was joining those elites. So with that being said, there's no excuse for that at the end of the half. We don't have to make a big deal about it and keep going on and on and on. But there is no excuse. There's no. It's not one that you can make. It's not one you can brush off. Dan Campbell can't make that type of mistake in a moment like that where you're trying to put 3 on the board. And it wasn't necessarily a crazy time transparency. Like it was doable. It was perfectly doable. So the snafu, you can't have that. On offense, man, Ben Johnson has to have a conversation with himself. Look, stop overthinking. I understand I've been on teams where sometimes you have too many weapons and you're trying to figure out how to use them. You got Jameson now, and Jameson in game 1, he showed you what he was capable of. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know what he is because we know what he got paid, so you want to get him involved. Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, you take it as it goes. Pause, you just take it as it goes. Jared Goff was exactly who he was in that game. He's that every game. Jared Goff is his best when Ben Johnson puts him in good situations to have success. You run the ball, you create the opportunity where they now think you're going to run. Now you set yourself up for the play-action pass, which Jared Goff was number 1 in the NFL, but that's when he's comfortable, when he's play-action passes, when the run is going, when you get Sam Laporta involved. So I'm not so much as Jared Goff and everybody's coming in here and $53 million for this, that, and the third. Jared Goff is the Jared Goff he was last year. Ben Johnson just has to put him in the position that he put him in last year. So I'm not going to be like most people and say this isn't a nothing burger, because it is something, but this is on Ben Johnson more than it is anybody else in my estimation.
Listen, they're like a kid in a candy store yesterday. Yeah. They saw Antoine Winfield Jr. down. They saw Vita Vea go down. They saw all of that. They're like, wow, we're going to throw 55 passes?
Yeah.
And it's not his game.
When's the last time they threw for 55 times in the game?
And won.
When you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and even Sione Vaki on your team. Yeah. What the hell are you doing? And where did Monty go again? He disappeared again.
Yeah, my big thing with that is, look, there's situational football. There's times when you have to pass, and I understand that. But when you look at the option selection for the first half, Maz, they ran the ball 12 times. They passed 24 times. Mm-hmm. They ran 12, and they passed 24 when this is a running team. You're starting to see the offensive line be uncomfortable as well. This offensive line is built on being able to run the ball, run at the defenders, get the momentum going, and then from there they get comfortable in the passing game. That offensive line hasn't looked the same, but that's because we're not looking the same in terms of our identity, and that is running the ball with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
The Detroit Lions, quite simply, right now have no idea who they are. Yeah. And I am not freaking out to this loss. I am not freaking out. I have seen many a good team start the season slowly, and it appears that the Detroit Lions obviously have begun this season very slowly. I mean, you saw what happened to the L.A. Rams yesterday. They got trucked in Arizona. Mm-hmm. You know, you barely had to fight and claw to win that game.
They lost Cooper Kupp, too.
Absolutely.
The Chiefs struggled.
But again, that's kind of what I'm saying. So, like, the Rams don't look like this juggernaut of a team. That win doesn't look as great as it once was thought of. Now, again, a win is a win in this league. Don't get me wrong about that. But I'm just talking about how the Lions look right now. And they look like they have no idea who they are. I am not freaking out about this. I think the Lions are a good team. I think they will figure it out. I think they're among the best teams in the league. They will figure this out. I believe that. However, right now, they have no idea who they are. You mentioned 55 passes to 25 runs in a one-score game all day. This wasn't a 3-touchdown game.
Right.
This was a one-score game all day. They have a fake punt at their own 20-yard line, but then they punt at midfield at Tampa's 48. They kick a field goal at the 3-yard line on 4th. Like, it's fine. It's totally fine. I'm good. But that's not who this team is.
No.
So I think a lot of this, and I heard Herm Edwards talk about this, the former coach of the New York Jets, ESPN personality. Herm Edwards was talking about the quality of play in the NFL through 2 weeks. Because if you look at just from a big picture view, if you just look at the overall quality through 2 weeks in the NFL, it's been bad. Mm-hmm. And the Lions are no different. And Herm Edwards was going nuts this morning talking about this is a product of the lack of play in the preseason. He said these guys have no idea about anything. He said football players get paid to play football, and nobody plays in the preseason. These first 2-3 weeks even, he extended it into the third week. He's like, it takes you that long to figure it out. And because nobody plays in the preseason anymore, this is why all of these teams are getting off to slow starts. It's a problem not only for players, but for coaches. He talked about coaches got to get into the flow of these things as well. And I do believe the Lions will figure it out. I'm not going to come out here and be, oh my God, they suck. Oh, the season's over. They just forgot how to play football. I'm not going to do that until next Monday when Arizona beats them. But I'll wait, okay? Yeah. But nonetheless, I think right now they have to go back, look in the mirror, and say, who are we? What do we want to be as a football team? And I also think, and this might be one of the most ridiculous things that I have said, but it's fine. I almost think they have too many weapons and they're trying to make too many guys happy. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 19 targets yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay? 55 passes, 19 targets.
And he paid for it. He's hurt.
He did. And again, thankfully it doesn't appear to be anything that's long-term or serious, contusion, all that stuff. I almost believe that it was almost the easiest call to make this weekend to say the Lions are going to force feed Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
And
we all called that.
We all said the same thing. They're going to force feed Amon-Ra St. Brown. So in 55 passes, that's more than a third of balls. 19 of them went to Amon-Ra. And you know what? Nearly half of them were not completed. Oh, yeah. He had 11 catches yesterday on 19 targets.
It was a lot of bad passes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? They were all over him. There was good coverage on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He could not get separation.
Nobody's open.
Again, it was almost like, we have to have this concerted effort to get Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball. What about, and you know what's going to happen? Next week, they're going to have a concerted effort to get Sam Laporta some looks. I mean, it's just the way that I feel it is when you have so many weapons and so much talent on the field. And I'm not complaining about that. What I'm saying is the coaching staff has to make a decision. Hey, look, check your ego at the door. We're going to run the offense. We're just going to play ball here, and whoever's open is going to get the ball. Period.
463 yards to 216. That's an abomination. How do you lose that game? Yeah. How do you lose that game when Tampa really never threatened you? One big, long pass for a touchdown, the interference call, and that's it. That's all they had. They couldn't run. The defense played terrific. Terry and Arnold was getting a flag almost like anytime that kid touches you, he's going to get a flag because they're going after him. They're testing him. And I still trust him that he's going to do okay. But I don't know. How do you lose a game when you have 463 yards of offense to 216 yards for Tampa Bay? Baker was great. He did what he escaped. He was like a magician yesterday.
Yeah, he was like a magician yesterday. Look, defense played well. I think voting for the future, you like what the defense looked like out there. Even the secondary, look, Terry Arnold had another penalty, but it wasn't 3 penalties like he did the week before, and he's almost turned his body around. So I think he will eventually get there. I like what I saw out of Aiden, and we'll get to the night he had. And we said, that was one of the big things. He had to come up. He had to show up this game. But just going back to offense, Ryan, it is going to be a long season. That's why I picked 11-6. It's going to be a tough season. Some good teams out there, and they're only going to get better. The Lions are one of them. With that being said, I can't buy the excuse that they don't have an identity and it's okay. It's not okay that they don't have an identity because they have too many weapons. Because Ben Johnson, we've been giving him this term. See, this is what happens when you pass out the term genius. When you say genius and it becomes consistent, well, then I get to hold you to a genius category. I get to hold you to a genius level. And 2 games into the 2024 season, the Lions don't look like anything. They got progressively worse than they were last week. I know he had 300 yards passing, but it was about
garbage.
It was about the aesthetics of it. Thank you, volume, Tom Masway. Ben Johnson, this can't be the case, especially when it's so laid out for you. We know what it was in the running game. The running game was working. You go to the running game, you open it up for Jared Goff. I understand you want to force feed. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you want to get him involved, and I understand that. But a good offensive coordinator who should be a head coach in this league right now, if he would have took one of the 2 or 3 jobs that he was up for, you got to know that you can't get the ball to Amon-Ra 19 times. You got to know at some point, maybe after the 8th pass, that, let's settle back in and figure these things out. So I'm not alert to the team aspects of what happened on Sunday. The Detroit Lions as a team will be okay, but I'm a little on edge watching 2 weeks in a row. Ben Johnson, who we keep calling this savant, this genius, he hasn't seemed to got it right. And there is one extra player, and that's Jamison Williams. That's not an excuse for this to look like this 2 weeks in a row.
2 interceptions. Yeah. The first interception was obvious interference on Tampa Bay. Right. They mugged Jamison Williams. Yep. The other one, somebody, and I think it was Tim Patrick, ran a wrong route because there was not a Lion within 10 yards of that pass. So 2 bad interceptions. One I'm not faulting Jared Goff on. Actually, probably both. Who the hell knows who was supposed to be where he threw that ball?
Yeah. For Ben Johnson, get back to what Bray said, though, it goes back to my belief that I think they will figure that out. I don't think that Ben Johnson forgot how to call a game. I don't think that Dan Campbell forgot how to coach football. I just think they're both rusty. Yeah. I think they're both rusty, and I think this is part of early season hiccups, major hiccups. I think they have what it takes to clean it up. I will also say this, and I think this is one of the things that I haven't heard a lot today from people. The Detroit Lions are getting everybody's best game, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They are absolutely sneaking up on nobody this year.
Tampa took it personal.
When you come into Ford Field, it's like coming into Michigan Stadium in the 90s. You are going to get your opponent's best effort all week of practice. Think about how the Detroit Lions all season long, last year, trained and worked out and thought about the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going into Kansas City. We're gonna do what we got to do to beat Kansas City. Teams are looking at the Lions like this now. Mm-hmm. Teams are looking at the Lions as this is a measuring stick for our ball club to go into Detroit, which many people around the league now believe is the biggest and best home field advantage. If you can go into Detroit and win a game, if you could go to Ford Field and win a game there in front of those crazy fans, you got something to build on. And I think that is one of the things that so many people are kind of overlooking today. Detroit's got to strap it up because I'll tell you, Arizona, they look pretty damn good. They should be 2-0. Yep. Mm-hmm. Marvin Harrison was streaking. For as good as Buffalo looked this week, Arizona went into Buffalo, should have won the game. Yep. Marvin Harrison was wide open.
Gave him hell,
wide open to end the game and have Arizona walk it off. and Kyler Murray just missed him. And then they just trucked the Rams yesterday.
Yeah.
Just trucked them.
Mobile QB too. That's
So what
something
I'm
we gotta
saying,
problem
Bray,
with.
is if you are Detroit, you better strap it up. You better strap it up and get ready because this season starts on Sunday.
Yeah, too, and that's a slippery slope. Trying to use the excuse that everybody is going to give you the best. We knew that. Everybody's been giving Detroit their best for the better part of
Almost 2 years now.
after they beat the Chiefs last year. You realize that there's something to this Lions team. So everybody's been giving them their best. I lost my thought for a second, but everybody has been giving them best. But you knew that coming into the season. You were one of the teams that was predicted to be in the Super Bowl. So even though you're getting everybody's best now, you're still a better team. You're a team that's supposed to somehow find a way to win games. You're absolutely right. They got Tampa's best and they got the Rams' best. But oh, by the way, 1-8 on third down against the Rams and 2-7 on third down against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
1-7 in the red zone.
Yeah.
1-7 in the red zone. Like, you're getting everybody's best, but you're playing your worst. At some point, you got to step up and realize, like, no. This is what we said we wanted to do. This is who we said we were. We said we were this Super Bowl team.
Yep.
You got to start playing like a Super Bowl team and find a way to win, because if Ben Johnson didn't somehow snap it on in overtime last week, the Lions are sitting at 0-2 to start the season.
Coin
And we're
toss,
having a
yeah.
much different conversation, so we're not that far from that. That's why I think you got to have serious conversations now. The Lions will evolve. I picked them to be 11-6. This is just one of those weeks on Monday. We got to talk about what seems to be not right.
Listen, don't say that I'm writing Jared Goff off, please. But I never saw him. He was out of it yesterday, completely out of it. He was all over the place. I never had any confidence in that offense, and that's a rarity, man. If you told me that the Lions would give up 200 yards to Tampa Bay, they would have won by at least 2 touchdowns. They could not get out of their own way yesterday. And again, the coaching was horrible. But Jared Goff was not even near his game. His game last year was, let me sit behind this line and just dice people up. Nobody's getting open, guys. They have found the NFL, they're not dumb. They look at the video. They look at the tape. And they're like, okay, we know how to shut this guy down. Last week, the Rams shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown. Shut him down. They shut down Sam Laporta. What do you think Tampa Bay's looking at? Of course, they're looking at that video. They played him. This is the 3rd time. Remember I brought it up? It's hard to beat a team 3 times. They played him twice last year, and then they play him just 2 games after they beat him in the playoffs here in the new season. And Tampa Bay, they did just enough to get the win. And the refs didn't do them any favors either, to be honest with you. But could have been holding on a ton of these calls that they let go. And the Kansas City game, I haven't even gotten to that yet.
Yeah, no, man.
These refs suck.
Yeah, I saw a funny meme. I'll send it to you in the group chat.
Yeah, the red and white stripes.
Yeah,
I get it.
The game ball,
that's a
the
weekly
Patrick
meme.
Mahomes.
It is.
Right.
That's
No,
a weekly
the
meme.
weekly meme.
Literally.
It's another one too. There's another one.
They don't want them to lose.
It's the lead, though.
Yeah. No, it is the league, but
Goff sucked yesterday. Really bad.
No, 100%.
Really bad.
And that's a whole different conversation. I think fans need to understand. You can sit here and say that Goff had a bad day without saying you don't support Jared Goff. I don't think fans understand that the two can mutually coexist. Just look at the Lions. It's not going to get, like Ryan said, but it's not going to get easier because they got film on you. This is one of the things I was focused on this year. What would Ben Johnson's offense look like? Because now people had a track record. They saw the things he did last year. Now, last year he had some of the most, amazing plays in the NFL and talking about how he drew them up and how they played out. But now, good teams, not just teams. If you look at last year, Ryan and Ermanni, they played 3 teams and made the playoffs. Out of their wins, out of their teams they played, 3 teams made the playoffs that they played last year. This year, they have film, and you're playing better teams. You're playing teams. Rams were in the playoffs last year. You look at the Buccaneers were in the playoffs last year. These are real teams that have real film. Todd Bowles, one of the best defensive coordinators around, he was able to put together defense. Because remember, Antoine Winfield wasn't on that field yesterday. Neither was Kalijah Kansas.
And neither was Vita Vea.
After
and
the
that's
first
why
quarter.
that's why one of the big,
Run it.
in your mind, you're like, why wouldn't you just run it
Run
on the
Football,
middle?
yeah.
Like,
Ben Johnson overplayed his hand.
I'll never forgive him 3rd and 2 from the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
And not getting a touchdown.
I'll
I won't
never
forgive him.
I'll never
That's the game.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yeah, it's
2 runs. You're kicking a 20-yard field goal? Who is that?
That goes back to, KG. It just goes back to what I said earlier, is the Detroit Lions right now have no idea who they are.
But I do disagree with that to a point. We do know what the identity of this football team is. You have the best offensive line in football. You're a run-first team that sets up the play action, which Jared Goff excels at. And they just kind of got away from that yesterday. And I felt like Ben Johnson really did Jared Goff a disservice, making him pass 55 times when it was a one-score game the whole time, and your QB is struggling. So they did run the ball, but you have to run it way more. And it's a tad bit of a concern. If they take the middle of the field away, I think Ben Johnson has trouble trying to scheme around that. So they do have to get better, but I would caution people, it is just week 2. Of course, they have to get it together, but overall, they dominated statistically the Buccaneers yesterday. Everything from stats to time of possession, everything was in the Lions' favor. They just didn't execute.
You know what sucks the most?
Yeah.
We're not even talking about Aiden Hutchinson's game.
Exactly. And the
4.5
defense,
sacks.
What a waste.
We will next.
The
We got a
defense is
2-hour
there,
show.
man.
What a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I agree with I forgot what I was going to say. I keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
like right when I be wanting to jump in, it's like and another thing.
Right.
And another thing.
Another thing.
Well,
Can't
how
catch
about
them all,
this?
man.
Did I tell you about
Big
that 3rd and 2 from the 2?
How about this?
Is Dan Campbell the same since? That's the question. Dan Campbell going for it, not going for it, not going for it. Didn't happen last year in NFC Championship. Is that now a thing with him?
It might be. That and the Applebee's commercials.